Listen, listen, I know I say this all the time. I really do. But the fact of the matter is that it's true. You guys are in for a spectacular treat with this next episode of Kushae Chronicles. I'm already queuing it up. So get ready for an amazing treat. This is the amazing, the illustrious Hopi Noel Morton. My guest is beautiful. They're all beautiful. She's special. You're going to find that she's talking about everything from her company that has a beautiful integration of vaginas and cannabis. Get into it. I'm not dropping any more spoiler alerts. So she talks about the fact that she lived in a wigwam, that she is the child of a celebrity parent, and living a life surrounded by sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And also about her own road through being a recovering addict. When I tell you that this is real life, this is raw, this is things that we can resonate with, y'all better get into it. I keep telling y'all, you don't have to be a celebrity to be celebrated, and everyone who has a Kushae has a story, okay? Tune in today. I'm Kimber the Natural Diva, and I'm bringing you another amazing episode of Kushae Chronicles.
Loving yourself is the highest form of loving God. I definitely stopped drinking and smoking weed because I was a wake and bake daily smoker, right? It was really like a Prozac for me. But I stopped all that. One of the reasons is because I didn't want to be embarrassed. This conversation, I pulled 3 cards, and the first one was communication. The second one was clarity.
Oh. Yes.
And the third one was grace.
Hello, gentle listeners, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Kushae Chronicles. I am your host, Kimber the Natural Diva, and today I am deliciously excited to bring to you a beautiful woman who has certainly a story of trials, tribulations, and triumphs. Miss Hopi Noel Morton. Hopi, so glad to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Yes, I'm loving it. So you guys, I cheat all the time. We do pre-calls, and I was like this with Hopi, like, tell me more, tell me more. It was just amazing. So you guys are in for a fantastic ride. All right. So first of all, the way that I met Hopi was at a friend's house, or a friend of a friend. And we were doing this wellness event where it was like acupuncture and wellness and all the things. And Hopi introduced herself and had like a quick elevator pitch about her business. Do you remember the elevator pitch you gave? Or you probably give it all the time.
I mean, I could reinvent
Reenact it.
Yeah, so really I'm on a mission to in and around intimacy, but specifically happy vaginas for women of a certain age.
Yes.
And I don't know what the elevator pitch is, but basically, I am so excited because I created something for myself, and I found out that a lot of other women need this. And I am a purveyor of pleasure melts. And pleasure melts are cannabinoid infused vaginal suppositories that make a big difference in a midlife woman's sex life.
Okay, so love it. So pause there. So first of all, I remember you telling me a story about how you went to a conference, and it was a cannabinoid conference. So basically, guys and gals, if you back of the room, people, y'all move up front. This is about cannabis. And people are always talking about smoking cannabis and, ingesting cannabis in cookies or gummies or whatever. And I think, Hopi, you were in the midst of the crowd. You raise your hand and you're like, I make cannabis for coochies or something crazy like.
Well, what I said was that, well, first of all, I was like, hi, my name is Hope. I like stood up because we were at a conference and people were just kind of like, meh, 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 meh. And I just stood up and claimed myself, which I noticed people doing. And that's sort of part of my mission in a way. But basically what I said was I put THC in my vagina. And that was like a mic drop moment. And and that was the beginning of the end, and really the essence of it. And the type of cannabis I use honestly is CBD. So full
Mm.
spectrum CBD has 0.3% THC in it, but it is a
Mm.
non-psychoactive experience because for me that's really important, and I can get into the science of all that at some point of this conversation.
Oh yeah, so we'll get nerdy. We'll get real nerdy. Okay, so the crowd goes wild. You know, you put THC in your vagina or you put cannabis in the vagina, and they're like, "What in the hell is this girl talking about?" So you have the floor, but tell us how you got there, because
Yeah.
so let me just share the fact that I have participated in Mary Jane in my recreational life, and combined with sex and intimacy, it's this heightened amazing situation,
It's really
and
targeted. Yeah.
absolutely. And so when you're inhaling it and you're smoking it and you've got this little THC high, and then you enjoy the pleasure of intimacy, to me it's like an amazing feeling. So I can only imagine having it direct to the source, and then all of a sudden your vagina's in la la land. You're like, what the hell's going on down there? So so
Well,
back up and tell us what happened. You've got this story that you've got online and everywhere about you turning 51 and
mhm.
recognizing that something was going on with you. So share the story with us.
So coming into menopause, turning 50, it was around 51 years old.
And real quick, hold on, because ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are seeing the video, this baby doesn't even look anywhere past 40. Like, what are we really talking about anyway? So if y'all are on
I'll
Spotify,
take
Apple,
I'll
look at
take
the video on YouTube. Because this
I'll,
baby does not even look like she's over 40. All right, so go
thank
ahead.
you.
Let's go.
And we get
You're
into
welcome.
black don't crack and whatever. You need to keep a sense of humor. Eating well, but this
Yeah.
is about like holistic care, right?
Yep.
Holistic care. And so coming into my 50s, coming into menopause, and knowing we need to know our mother's story because that reflects our story. So I think this is around the time my mom, maybe a little sooner, but something that I loved and was confident in, and had been doing for quite a while with my husband at the time,
Mhm.
sex was no longer enjoyable, was suddenly becoming painful. Like, no, 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 no. So a
Mm.
pleasurable intimacy was starting to be associated with pain, discomfort. I went to the gynecologist. My period had stopped, kind of. I wasn't sure. I hadn't had it for a year. And then suddenly there was some, and this is a little graphic, but I think, we deserve to talk about these things. We don't need to
Mhm.
hide it. It's not the 1950s.
Right.
And so I was spotting, and I was like,
Mm.
"What am I? Did my period come back?" And it's an emotional roller coaster ride because you're like, "She's back. She's not back. Oh,
Right.
like who am
I'm
I?
free. I'm not free. It's
Right?
like,
Yeah, I'm free. I'm not free. I'm free. What?" Because you're used to the sun setting every day, and then the sun stops setting. You're like, "Okay, cool." And then you're like, "What?" And this happens for a number of reasons, but in my case, I went to OBGYN, I went to alternative doctors, and basically she was like, "Oh, you're tearing." And I was like, "What? I'm what?" She's like, "You're tearing. Do you have a little stinging?" I'm like, "Yeah, what? Tearing?" And it was just so blase blase. And I was
right. She's like, oh yeah, you're fine. You're like, what the hell does that even mean? I don't even know what that means.
ripping on the inside, because all sorts of things with your hormones create a thinning skin. And I'm no longer in that marriage, so I was in a stressful marriage, because I really have to say stress is the number one thing that really agitates menopause or is a part of the experience. So decreasing stress any time of life is important, but particularly for us midlife women, that's why you do see a lot of divorces at this age. So
Mm.
I did not have a good experience with that. And I was like, whoa. And she really wasn't educated on alternatives. She was like, you can go on, hormone therapy, or you can, use this lubricant. And I was like, what's in the lubricant? What's in
Right.
it? You can use this hyaluronic acid, and there are many things. So I'm not downing these things, but
Right.
she gave me a few options, but she really couldn't tell me that much about it. And backtracking, it's really only been over the past year and a half that menopause has become a popular topic, and there's many doctors, Marie Haber. There's many doctors, not many. There's a set of female doctors who are coming forth and getting a lot of attention for talking about menopause. Plus, like Drew Barrymore, Halle Berry, it's become
Right.
a popular topic just in the past like year and a half, I would say.
Well, that's only because, like, let's be honest, there's money attached to menopause now, right? You got to follow the money because all of these boomers are literally saying, "We're here. We're not going anywhere. We're not dying early." And so y'all got to have to figure this out. That's why the industry is now kind of chasing this menopause
And
narrative. But other than that, they wanted y'all to just die off and just be like, "You're done here." You know what I mean? Which is like,
yeah,
hello?
there's a
Yeah.
great doctor. She's right here, Dr. Jen Gunther, and she has a book called The Menopause Manifesto. And
Okay, Jen Gunther. Okay.
she sets the stage for um, we cannot forget that this is the medical industry is a male paradigm.
Yeah.
And so there's two things involved with that. One, there's this when you're no longer fertile, you're not no longer, valid.
No one cares. It's like, you're good. We're done here. You know what I'm saying? Like, your life's over. Why should we care? Literally, like, you're disposed. Literally.
And the truth is, we're so friggin' valid. We're so
Yeah.
valid. A, we watch your babies. We know how to do this. B, we don't need to have babies to be valid.
Right.
And C, we don't get pregnant. We like to have a good time and not get pregnant. we,
To me, it's the win-win.
we like to travel and have fun. And we are really also, we're considered the super consumer because we've made money.
Hmm.
We have money in savings. We no longer are paying for college or ballet classes or whatever it is,
Right.
in the general motherhood section, or college, grad school, whatever it is. We're no longer even necessarily, I mean, in my case, I've started this new venture, but we're kind
Right.
of free to do those things. We're no longer, um, like you're more in a stable place. And so
Right.
midlife women over 50 are considered super consumers. We make
Mm.
the median more than everybody else. We are in the
Mm.
100K up compared to the rest of the country, right? And
Nice.
there's billions of us around the world. Billions
Billions.
of
Like,
people. We're making billion. We support the economy by spending. We're brand loyal.
hmm.
We are also like there's women going into menopause, like just like puberty, right? This is
Hmm.
puberty. So there's women coming into menopause at a rapid rate. And
Oh,
what the reason that studying menopause is difficult is because we're complicated. Every woman is
yeah.
a different story, a different hormone level, eating habits, other medical conditions, lifestyle, genetics. It's complicated. Our cycles are
Hmm.
so unique. So it was expensive. You can't
Mm.
study women the same way. But now, when I go to Whole Foods, I look at the feminine section, and I look
Right.
where the products for menopause are placed. They're still on the bottom shelf in the corner.
And they know our knees ain't the way they used to be. What the,
It's
you
no,
know what I'm saying? Like, how you expect us to get
it's like,
that?
oh, ma'am, and I'm like, no, 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 just looking. He's like, I'm taking photos of the bottom shelf. I see your product there too. I love it.
Yes. Come on, Kushae. But it's at the
So
bottom too. I'm like, how are we supposed to come on now? We can't be bending like this.
yes, yes. And
Anyway.
so basically, coming into menopause, having this extreme pain, not getting the answers, or it's not just the answers, but the affirmation. This is real. This is normal, and here's what we can do about this. Let's work
Right.
together. She was just like, "Go deal with it, right? Get some lube." And so, thank God, I'm an experimenter. I come
Mm.
from a long line of bohemians. And my auntie, my Aunt Noelle, who my namesake, um,
Oh.
was part of, she's in her 80s now. She was really part of the California health movement. And
Oh.
as a blended woman, this is the
Mm.
Finnish side of my family. So my auntie is Our ancestors are from Finland, and
Mm.
Finnish people are really into what people can consider like organic, holistic living. So
Oh,
think about saunas, that came from this part of the world, Finland, right?
oh, really? Oh, yeah, because that whole like Sweden,
Yeah,
Finland, Switzerland, they are about it. They're like, listen, it's wellness over nothing.
yeah, and
Yes,
it's just a way of life. Cold plunges, it's just a way of life. So
right.
in our spiritual and genetic DNA. And so my auntie over the years has shared with me her legacy of natural remedies, kind
Mm.
of coming from being a bohemian artist to our Finnish roots. And she just always shared her real secrets, like a recipe that you're like,
Right.
not share this. I had to wait for her to give me the blessing, be like, okay, I'm gonna tell you the basic thing of this recipe. And she
Wow.
finally started sharing with me. So I had these ideations. I was like, what is this made of? What does it do for the skin? Because it was internal skin thinning.
Yes.
And then doing research around the world, this is not a new thing. So cannabinoid infused suppositories is not a new thing.
Mm.
This is plant medicine. And so my product is a version that came to me through a process of experimentation. And so and testing and trial and getting some feedback from some friends and the truth is there are cannabinoid receptors all throughout our body,
Hmm.
cannabinoid receptors, right?
Yes.
And so the lining of the vagina has a plentitude of cannabinoid receptors. What does CBD do? CBD is a balancing agent and it's
Mm.
anti-inflammatory. And then with the THC, there's some people call it the entourage effect, and just to be blunt about it, this product is non-psychoactive. It does not. There's a blood-brain barrier. The molecules of the cannabis do not absorb to water. They absorb into the fatty tissue.
Mm.
So far, and this is where we do need more studies. Nobody's gotten high from my product, but your
Nice.
pussy gets high.
Who doesn't want their pussy to be high? Ladies, let's vote. Let's all chime in. Down in the comments. Okay, so because you know what? Okay, we're going to nerd out a little bit. I know that your brain is made up of a lot of fat, or it gets insulated by fat. And that actually is what protects women, men from dementia and some of the other, brain mental health diseases. And so, but I think that what you said obviously is very important. The fact that, first of all, knowing that we have cannabinoid receptors all throughout our body, which when I learned that some years ago, it was like, okay, so then we were meant to receive this plant product, right? Like our bodies are like, where is this thing? We've got these openings and there's nothing plugging into them, right? And so it's like, okay, we're supposed to. But for you to think, okay, well, we're going to get it to the source right into the vaginal canal.
Application.
Brilliant, darling. Brilliant.
And also, so there's another brand out there
Mm, okay.
that I was like I was like, oh, there's another brand. Let's
I
do it.
know there will always be an listen, the minute you dream something, oh,
It's all good. First of all, it's not as good as mine. It just isn't. I've tried
right.
it. It's not as good as mine. Um,
Boo.
but you know, the other piece is that the brand is launched by a man. Okay. So, and he has a wife, and I've listened to him on podcasts, and he's super cool. All good. No, no, no. I'm not hating on him,
No
but
shade.
and his wife is not my age. This product is made by somebody who needed it. It was the first thing I really did for myself
Right.
in my personal life, meaning like that radiated out into my career.
Mm,
And my suppositories are a cute little heart shape
I
instead of that
know.
weird bullet.
Oh,
And that alone makes women and men are like, oh, it's so cute, you know.
right.
And it's like you're putting a little heart, a little love in there, you know?
Exactly. Talk about intention, setting your intentions and being clear. Imagine, okay, you've got a bullet, so you're basically trying to kill. Like bullets to me is like death, kill. And then you've got heart, which is total opposite, love and ah,
Yeah.
just yummy goodness, and spirituality. It's all
And so
the
she
things.
goes in there and she coats your walls, and and my product is non-comedogenic, meaning it doesn't clog the pores. It's
Pores.
antimicrobial, which means nobody has had any, not one person
Mm,
has had any funky discharge one way or the other, either
right.
yeast or bacteria. It's a cleansing, clear, clean, and the way it melts, it looks like our natural stuff. Um,
Mm,
so I'm really keeping in mind all of these pieces from an experiential place, um, and thinking through every part, as you said, with intention and purpose.
exactly. No, I love that. Okay, so then since you are specifically marketing to menopausal women, I'm not there yet, but I know that I've got some samples around here somewhere. I still got to listen. I'm recently divorced. Let me get my life together first. But
Me too. Me too.
we're going to get back to that.
No, I did tell you you can use it by yourself.
That's true. I need to.
This is
Okay.
the time. This is the time. Remember who we are. Get familiar with her so you're ready to go when you meet that guy.
Exactly. Listen, I am too familiar. Okay. She's like, girl, go sit down somewhere. Anyway, the point, we need a break. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, so the fact that it's a heart, I love it. Oh, and I have my little heart chain on today. Oh, I think I did it on purpose. Oh, it's all love. Okay, so when do you use the suppository? That was gonna be my question. Are
Oh,
you
like
using it like an hour before Boothang gets over there? Like when are we using this?
yeah, so it's every woman is different. My recommendation is 20 minutes before.
Okay.
So, but if you put it in an hour before, it's fine. Some women, when you're like hot and heavy and ready to go, you can put it in a
Hmm.
few, before. You can have oral sex before. Depends on how long it's been in there, to your taste. Nobody, also just want to reiterate, nobody has gotten high from this as of yet in terms of a head high. Women have claimed that they felt a deeper orgasm. They uh, had multiple orgasms when they hadn't had that before. The
Mm.
first and primary use of it is a lubricant. It
Right.
melts inside of you and creates a velvety glide. So it's not, some other products are like kind of like there's a coconut oil base that's very
Hmm.
greasy and slippy. This
Yeah.
has got a little bit more viscosity.
Mm.
So like we need to get into these things, right?
Yeah, we do because there's differences with water-based and then like the oil-based, and then obviously yours is also oil-based, but it's a different oil, right? So coconut
No,
is definitely a little bit more drippy, although it
this
can
is not
maintain a solid
condoms.
consistency.
So just to put it out there, this is not for use with condoms. I'm working on a variety of different products, but this melt is definitely oil based, so it's
Yeah.
can't use that with condoms.
Right. And for folks who don't know that, you can never use an oil-based lubricant with condoms. So if you're trying not to get pregnant or trying not to risk your life with STD, STIs, it's water-based for you. However, hopefully you're in a very trusting, nurturing relationship
Yeah,
where you
you
can
all
use
got
this.
tested, and you're in a, whatever it is, whatever works for you,
Right.
to make you feel safe. I just wanted to circle back also. So no, yes, my product is, and my brand is with a spotlight and a focus on menopausal women. However,
Yes.
women of all ages, the youngest being I think 26, 27,
Mm,
have used this product. The oldest being 70 or 70, no, older, 74.
right.
Love it. And
Mm,
it's a fun alternative lubricant. It also, I have a friend who is just gone through radiation treatment, another friend who had a prolapsed vagina and anus from childbirth,
ah,
all kinds of issues that impact what's going on down there.
right.
Tightness, dryness, discomfort, all those things. This is a great remedy. A friend just used it for cramps, you know,
Wow.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh my God, it made such a difference."
Oh, I
So
can imagine because the CBD being anti-inflammatory is going to calm all that down. Oh, that would be amazing. We actually experimented with a product that we only released every few holidays or so that had CBD in it. It was like a belly rub. So
mhm,
even transdermally, getting that CBD into the system really kind of helps with pain
yeah,
relief. So
yeah,
I can imagine right into the vaginal canal. It's like relaxing all the muscles from cramping. Oh, I love it. That's a great idea.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't need to do edibles. I can just put it in the pussy.
Your vagina's eating it.
Yes.
Okay, so I know that you are recently launched. So Deeply is the name of the brand. You are recently launched. So what are your plans for Deeply? And then we're going to circle back to how you even got here. Obviously, that was 51 plus. We don't even know how you got here. So we're going to circle back to that, but talk a little bit about what's next for Deeply.
So right now I would call it a soft launch. The
Okay.
website deeply.life.
Mhm.
And right now we are going into manufacturing, distribution, the whole thing, the
Yep.
getting the marketing team together, about to launch our social. So we're just in a soft launch right now. Really, what I'm really good at, besides that I created this thing, is these types of conversations and connecting with women. So, like later today, I'm going to a screening of the M Factor,
Mm.
and I think that's the name of the film, and then a talk about menopause. So I've just been out there. I'm sort of like
Mm.
the CBD vagina lady. Um,
Not kind of like you are the
yeah,
CBD vagina lady. It is what it
and I'm
is.
always like, I don't know if you're into human design at all,
Hmm.
but I and gene keys. But basically, my mission, or apparently, is that I'm here to break boundaries. I'm here to, and I'm always like, why is the thing that I'm doing right now vaginas and cannabis? Like, higher power. What? Why is this what I'm doing? It's always got to be controversial. It's always got to be pushing limits.
Right,
But thankfully, I have I feel connected to the mission personally, obviously, and I think I can speak eloquently enough about it. And honestly, I really
right,
believe that um, some traits that I bring to the table that help other women and people is honesty and authenticity. Like, that for me are real key pieces of integrity.
right.
And this product is really not just for women; it's for women and their partners.
Mm.
So if your partners are men, this is a product for them. If your partners are women, this is a product for them. And so I'm really speaking to the world of intimacy, and
Right,
my brand is all about pleasure wellness.
right. I love that. And so what I found is that being also in this zone of vaginas that I didn't ask for, but certainly can't figure out what else I could be doing because this is what I now feel tied to and mission driven around. You realize that you're having to create paths that never existed. And so when you talk about pleasure wellness, that's a whole new genre of the industry that you're going to have to spend a lot of time, money, and resources educating on. Because we had to do the same, right? We're like, okay, it's vaginal health, it's vulva health. And they're like, what the hell is a vulva? Women didn't even know what a vulva was. And I was like, hello? So, what you think might be basic information is going to take some time, but women need the information. And we're going to set this thing on fire so that it starts as this little spark in your brain and your heart. And then
Yeah.
it just has to reverberate, right? And so we are committed to getting the word out and supporting you in all things deeply as we try to get our life together. You see how I did that?
It's a good word. It really, we want to love deeply, we want to connect deeply. We,
Mm,
it's a um I've had some amazing people on my team, and a woman that's been working with me for quite a while, Ashley Moy. She was here in my branding phase, and I was like, it's like I feel like it's like the depths of the ocean, like it's deep in the ocean, or
Mm,
like aurora borealis. It's like the stars.
mm.
And she was like, deeply, deeply, and I was like, deeply, deeply.
Ooh,
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It's all about collaboration. It's all about connection.
yep,
This is as we're saying, this is a plant medicine. I did not invent this. I am I'm literally channeling directly from my auntie, but also from the ancestors and um, what has come before me with the utmost respect.
right, for sure.
Honoring it, keeping
Yes.
it alive.
I love it. I love it. So we're going to turn the page, but thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story about Deeply because it can be it's personal. It's, what women would consider judging. They're very afraid to share their own personal stories. But what I find is that as we stay silent, we don't find solutions.
Yeah.
And so let us encourage you. I hope, ladies, that Hopi has encouraged you to start talking and telling your truths because that's how you find that you can get past them. And there are other people out here that are helping you try to get past them. But if you don't say anything, you don't get anything. And so, closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah, I had a great therapist. She couldn't keep us together, but great couples therapist.
No, so did I. Like shout out to the couples therapist. Mine was phenomenal. Best
Kimberly,
therapist I've ever had.
awesome.
Listen, and I still use her personally, but I just didn't want to do the work for the marriage anymore. And so that's not on her. You know what I
Well,
mean? Let's be honest.
he didn't want to go there, but
Yeah.
but two things. One, what she would say is name it, claim it, tame it. So that's what
Yep.
And
Mm,
I do have to give a shout out to my ex-husband because he was really an integral part of me figuring this out.
yeah.
And he is a spiritualist himself as well, and was there when I was trying to figure this out, and was a huge part of this process, and is so happy to see me taking it and running with it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, shout
Anyway,
out to him. No,
yeah,
for being mature about it too. Like, okay, this is something you wanted to do, is something that was afflicting you and your love life, obviously. And I'm sure he probably was in a place where he felt guilty or blamed himself, maybe. How did he feel? Do you know how he felt?
um, I mean, I think that was part of the problem. He was like, "It's something with your." He's from Brazil. He's like, "It's something with your chemical. Something's wrong." Like he was like, "Something's wrong with you," and I'm like, "Something's,"
Oh,
you know.
and
And
you're
then,
like, after you, bro. No.
but he really did share with me remedies from Brazil. And I was
Wow.
like, whoa, they do that there? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I just started, that's how I started kind of figuring it out. So and honestly, I have to say, what's been amazing about this project, there are women in my life who are champions, who have helped me, but the
Mm,
men have come to the table. I'm working with a chemist right now, who just is so brilliant, a young man. I mean,
right.
40. I'm working with, there's a number of men in the cannabis industry who are like, I want to help you. I want, like, and
Really?
because they're like, I don't want no more, I don't want my wife to go through this anymore. I don't want,
So they say they don't want no dry coochie. What they really saying?
that's basically like, she's not giving it up anymore.
Oh, yeah,
And
true.
also, this is I mean, and I know we're moving on, but just the final piece is that cannabis, menopause, and sexual wellness is a trifecta of a lot of potential financial gain. These are three hot topics that are
Cannabis, menopause, and wellness. Oh, yes, for sure. For sure. These right now are popping.
and and
Popping.
and CBD for wellness specifically. So
Right.
there's medical marijuana, there is recreational marijuana, and then there is cannabis for wellness, marijuana
Right.
for wellness, right?
Right.
And there's cannabis and there's marijuana and there's CBD. This is all there's hemp.
Hemp.
It's a whole world, but the
Right.
world that I'm in is cannabinoids and CBD for wellness, for sexual wellness, and this intersection
Trifecta.
is like very has a lot of potential to make a lot of money. And these men see that, and they also see the potential to um, have better sex lives.
Absolutely. So I can see it now on a graph. You've got this Venn diagram and it's where the three meet, right?
It's in my
Cannabis wellness and vaginal health, sexual wellness. Bang. You're in the just like a vagina. Just like a
what do I do
yay.
with this? Like, how do I do? Oh, there's like a thing that I do. Hold on.
Are we gonna have a group handshake? What are we doing? Oh, is it what?
Forget it. Scratch that.
Okay, so you know what? We're just getting carried away because we're both in the vagina world. We love it. Listen, you guys, we get nerdy with the vaginas. It's fine. You guys will too one day.
I hope you do now.
Exactly right. Let's just come on in because it's fun over here. The water's warm. We love it.
Look at it.
So anyway, all right. So I want us to back all the way up. You had a beautiful term that how you describe yourself as a blended woman.
Hmm.
And, I really appreciate that. I've never heard that before. And there are women or people who would consider themselves biracial or whatever it is you want to say, which is totally, up to each individual. But tell me how you came to describing yourself as a blended woman. Talk a little bit about growing up and what that was like as a blended woman, because that's a whole different reality in and of itself.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, here's the thing. Most of us are blended.
Well,
Um,
we're all blended, right?
yeah, I
But
don't.
not directly. We don't know where the blend comes from, most of us.
Some people, they get their, they're 23 and me or whatever, and they're like, I am 100% like my stepmother is Armenian. She is like
Mm.
really, really like Armenian, like maybe
Oh,
a tiny
that's
bit of
it.
Persian. Some people, they it's pretty much like Irish, Scottish, Welsh, or
Mm.
but many of us are blended, right?
Right.
Even if you're hitting multiple tribes in Africa, right? Which maybe they can do and maybe they can't because of the way these tests are designed, which is a whole nother
It's a
conversation.
whole other conversation.
And
There's a
also,
couple that can do it though, but we'll talk about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I am like clearly something's going on here, and I think some of us are more overtly blended looking, mixed, and
Hmm.
you know, but this has been going on for a long time. This
Oh,
is
since the dawn of time, child. The dawn.
my, I am really a very American person,
Hmm.
phenomenally American. My ancestors are like were slaves. They were brought here, and Finnish people who came here several generations ago, like like many people. And so I grew up. I was, if you do the math, I'm a child of the '70s. My parents, yeah, very much. My name means Hopi means peace. It's a tribe. It's an indigenous tribe
Oh, I
in
love that.
Arizona, New Mexico, New Mexico,
Right.
the Hopi Indians, and yeah. So I grew up in a very, I think, what was and still is considered an alternative lifestyle.
Mm.
My dad is in show business. My mom traveled. They broke up when I was very young, and my
Mm.
mom traveled around the world with me. I've lived in a wigwam. I have, which is a teepee. I have
Right.
lived on a sailboat. I have lived in the Caribbean. Went to school there. Was in Greece for a little while, and then she finally kind of settled in on the island of Martha's Vineyard, and I lived there year round until I was 10. And then I moved to the Upper West Side of New York City,
Mm.
my dad, but really grew up for my formative years there on the road with him in his career.
Wow.
And yeah, it was interesting. It was definitely travel, I think, is one of the most amazing forms of education. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, I went to school. I went to school on the Upper West Side to PS 84. And, but I
One of the
also,
PSs. For those of you who don't know, in New York, PS is public school, so pick a number, any number. They
yeah,
got so many of them, I don't even know. And
but
I
I
grew up in
also
New York, and I'm like, I don't know.
went to the Summit School in Seattle, Washington, or had a tutor, depending on how long, whatever show he was on or what he was
Right.
doing. I had tutors, and so I was homeschooled. Actually, is
Right.
what, we didn't really call it that then. So I've had this very blended experience of growing up. I'm in a blended family. My father remarried. I have siblings. I have four siblings from different mamas and dadas and the whole thing. And
Love it.
I appreciate and love my lifestyle. I also have a beautiful son who's in his late
Mm.
20s, and
Oh,
yeah, he's the most important person to me,
love it.
and always will be. And yeah, so very blended alternative lifestyle. As I've told you in our pre-conversation, there I was exposed to a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll,
Hmm.
jazz, R&B.
You're like, okay, those were the things, and then there's some other things. All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
let's stop. Let's stop there because I mean, some people would just consider your life a beautiful, like, love child story, right? That maybe you were the love child of these two people who I'm sure had found something in common with another. Your mom's Finnish, your dad's black, and they have you. Are you the only child with
of those
for
two.
them?
Yes,
Yeah, those two, right. So
yeah.
I would consider you a 70s love child, right? And then you take off with your mom in wigwams and on sailboats, and then somehow your life ends up in New York with your dad, and he's got this budding acting career, and he's going on shows and movies, and you're just right there tagging along, living your best, cutest little life. I mean, it's a dream for some people, but for you, was it a dream? Was it dreamy? Was it scary? What was it for you?
You know, honestly, my life has these dramatic highs and lows.
Mm,
It's fully a combination. I was a love child, and I was loved. I also was the child of people trying to figure out their own stuff. Um,
yeah.
and honestly, my experiences in Martha's Vineyard when I was little, like 10 and younger, were a little bit more dramatic than when the stability came when I moved to New York.
Mm,
It just was my mom. Um, the world that she was in was very male dominated, and it was also a party lifestyle. Um, and I just witnessed a lot of cray cray. I just saw
right.
a lot of stuff happening um, that was traumatizing, I would
Yeah.
say.
No, for sure. Listen.
And I've done a lot of work, and we've talked about that, and also just then on top of that, right? My father is the child of a black army captain, which is
Oh,
rare during the 50s,
right.
who um, was assassinated within the army, and that's a whole nother story.
Oh,
So there's trauma. We live. Look at the world right now. It is
mm,
trying to work this shit out, right?
right.
And until we really have a true
Reckoning.
reckoning, come to Jesus,
Mm,
right, of the basis of where this is all stems from, and have a real humbling. I think what's happening is a humbling moment that's
yeah.
going to kind of have to blow it all up before it comes together. We're in a cooker pot, you
Yeah.
know,
It's a what do they call it? The
steam.
what's the one that steam with the whole high pressure cooker? Pressure cooker for 100.
We're in a pressure cooker,
Yeah.
and my dad has always told me this. He was like, it happened in the 70s and the 60s, and it has not been resolved.
Right.
you know Not to get into politics, but
But
this constitution wasn't written for us or by
uh,
us.
mm-mm.
And so it's just perpetuating the history. We don't know our history, and so my parents and their parents represent a very complicated history
Yeah.
that, you know, it comes to the next generation. And my goal with my son is that to no longer perpetuate the intergenerational trauma.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I definitely have, uh, for a long time in my life, functioned, but was struggling with trauma, and a whole bunch of things that I'm so happy at this stage in my life I've been able to name it, claim it, tame it, and continue. It doesn't
Right.
end. It's a
No,
continuum.
exactly. It's a whole journey. I mean, so, you touched on something when we spoke earlier, when we spoke before about how some of this trauma has manifested itself. And I tell people all the time, I'm a therapy junkie. I studied psychology when I was in college, and one of the requirements for being a psych major was you gotta go into therapy. You have to understand how other people evaluate your own head in order to understand how the head ticks. Because the best head that I understand is my own,
Yeah,
and I don't even understand it. You know what I'm saying? So none of us really understand. We don't understand why we behave the way we do and where those behaviors come from. But they
yeah,
all stem from something. And typically, it stems from experiences, interactions, and traumas throughout your most formative years. So
yeah,
it's from birth through, I think it's about maybe like 11 or 12 or something like that.
yeah,
And so you talked about dealing and seeing and experiencing a lot of cray cray.
yeah.
How do you believe that that's manifested itself
Well,
later, years later?
yeah. Another book I have back here is "The Body Keeps the Score." That's
Ooh,
classic, right?
ooh, that's good.
That's a good one. And so
Yeah.
for me, having, you know, that drop the mic moment that I had at that cannabis convention, what I also said was that I no longer smoke cannabis. I
Mhm.
now I put it in my vagina, right?
Right.
And my what happened for me was that I grew up. The first time I smoked weed, I think it was like 3 years old. Somebody was like puff puff, right? And this is in the 70s where,
70s, so it's like not a big deal, probably.
and it wasn't, that didn't happen all the time, but that's crazy. That's
Yeah, a 3-year old, the brain is like not where it needs to
developing.
be at all.
Yep. And then at 11 years old, consciously with, you know, other 12, 13 year olds. So I started partying at a young age. And eventually in my life, that, you know, addiction is a progressive disease, and it's a disease of the
Mm.
body, mind, and spirit.
Oh, yeah.
And it took me decades, but I finally had to face that and go into recovery.
Yeah.
And I am happy to say today I'm a sober woman. I've been here for a while now. I
Yes.
started 9 years ago. I also went to NYU for my MSW. And so, you know, really started to come into an understanding of my own trauma through that
Yeah.
process of being a woman. I've navigated abusive relationships, and you know, many of us don't talk about having experienced sexual abuse. And
Right.
I'm open to these conversations because, and I'm open to authentically share my experiences, because I don't want others to hold it down, because that
Right.
really is what creates illness and disease,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so it's to me, it's not just the head stuff, it's a holistic experience. You know, you bump your toe or you have a toothache, it fucks your whole body, and it fucks your day.
Literally, you're like, I can't think, I can't do the meetings, I can't function because it
It's
starts
tired,
small, but then it's like it grows, right? It's like a mold. It grows.
exhaustion, right?
Yeah.
Stress is exhausting, it's psychically draining, right? So my mission has been sobriety from substances, emotional sobriety, um, you know, no more codependence. I'm
Yeah.
If it's going to help me, I'm into it. You know, eating healthy. I definitely, you know, as I've got with the hormones, like weight is a whole
Mm.
thing. The
Ugh.
body image, um, even like binge watching. You know, like
Mm.
why'd you just hit that again? Our brain, like addiction is whack-a-mole. it will hit you wherever you want. It's our ego trying to take over, right? So
Mm,
really, my mind is not the boss. What's really the boss for me is my heart and my gut.
mm,
And not just my gut, like our microbiome and all that, which is true,
right.
right? But my soul, my
The
soul.
little voice gut. It's the voice gut.
I
Yeah.
feel it in my body if something is right or wrong. And it took me
Mm,
getting sober, and it took me, not just talk therapy, somatic healing, EMDR, all different types of modalities, group
yes.
work, landmark. I have explored it all to
Mm,
to heal and to be a better person, a better offering to the world. I just was having a
right.
conversation with somebody, and really reasserting in my viewpoint, loving yourself is the highest form of loving God.
Yes.
Loving your higher power, loving spirit. For me, higher power is love. It's the same
Right.
thing. My God is love, actions of love. I got all about love, bell hooks right here, right?
You got some good books. Listen, I got books, but listen, I got to get some good books. I got like business books.
Inspirations books here. And I think we met through Grace. I have her book here, The Joy
The
Strategist.
Joy Strategist. Yes, we're gonna have a whole book list in the comments. Like these are the books you guys get to, because I think you make such amazing points, Hopi, around the work. And I think what I'm finding, particularly in this new space of being single and even meeting new people, that so many people still haven't done this work. And so they constantly are bringing these traumas into every new relationship, whether it's platonic or intimate, and it's this continuous destructive cycle. And
Yeah.
what people don't understand in this big age, I feel like you're 40 plus, you're 30 something plus, and you have access to therapy. It's not about there's a problem. It's about what is it that my poor parents, family, loved ones, maybe not so loved ones when I was young, exposed me to, that I have got to understand, be able to name it and claim it, so that it doesn't show up and destroy what this life that I'm trying to live, right? It's not even your fault. You know what I'm saying? And I think people don't even recognize that. It's not your fault. It's
Yeah.
whatever was poured into you. You got to go in with a filter and get all those grains out, get all the shit out. It's like old oil. You keep frying fish in. Bitch, get them crumbs out of there. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah. New
seasoning is
oil.
old. Get it out. You clean
Yeah.
this oil up.
Yeah. Shame, guilt and shame are religiosity that doesn't
Mhm.
work for me.
Right.
Now, I definitely stopped drinking and smoking weed because I was a wake and bake like daily smoker. Right? It
Right.
was it was really like a Prozac for me. But I stopped all that. One of the reasons is because I didn't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to
Mm.
be embarrassed anymore. You do embarrassing things when you're drunk. You do, and so,
Kinda.
or if it doesn't, there's normal people who don't, but I'm not normal. There's
Right.
we normies, right? And so it's I don't want to perpetuate a feeling of
Mm.
guilt and shame. I
Right.
want to be in alignment with the qualities and the assets of love, of my higher power. And so
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to be where I am, if I hadn't gotten sober. I wouldn't be able to be having this conversation. Now, could I fake it? Kind of, sure, but there was
Yeah.
always sort of something in there that was lacking. So it's really being able to not function from a place of shame and guilt. I have anybody who knows me knows that I have these acronyms. I talk about them all the time. So fear,
Mhm.
false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
And we need to face everything and rise.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Okay, face everything and rise. Of
I
course,
didn't
the
make these
false
up.
evidence
I
of
use
things
them.
appearing real, that
Yeah.
I know. That I've heard of. But this next one, what was it again? Face
Face.
everything and rise.
Yeah.
But people are afraid, which is so ironic, right? The word fear is literally what is keeping people from facing everything and rising.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're using that to describe what they should be doing, but fear ultimately is what prevents them from doing that. It's nasty. It's really really hard work. and it's nasty stuff in here. You know what I mean? And sometimes in here.
Yeah, it's toxic.
And I applaud people who take this journey. I've been taking this journey for years. I actually just called my therapist the other day and I was like, "Yeah, have I missed a few months? I need to get back." You know what I mean? Because it never ends, to your point. It's a lifetime journey. We'll never be the best version of ourselves, but we're certainly better,
Yeah.
much better than we ever were.
And I think even just these conversations, community, being in conversation. I pull cards, right? So I always have different kinds of cards that
Do
I pull.
you? Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
So before this conversation, I pulled three cards, and the first one was communication. The
Perfect.
second one was clarity,
Oh, yes.
and the third one was grace.
Oh,
And so, those are what I call God winks,
yes.
and communication is such a big one. It's
Yeah,
such a big one, and these conversations and having dialogues and connecting and maybe it's being a little brave and fearless
for
and
sure.
you know what? I don't have time to worry about what other people think about me. I
First of all,
really
ain't nobody paying your bills, girl. Listen, let's go back to the foundations. If you ain't paying my bills and you're not responsible for feeding me on an everyday basis, I do not care.
yeah,
I don't.
yeah,
Because where I'm going is where I'm supposed to be, and I can't do that without doing all of this. Like you said, if I don't talk my truth, if I don't get clear on what I need, who I need to be, and what I need to do to get there, I'm living for somebody else anyway. And that's just not what this is about. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. So and the thing is, you asked me my background. So I've really lived these hybrid lives. My whole
mm,
essence of my being has been like these sort of interesting hybrid lives, and that it's okay.
yeah.
It's okay. My first career, I worked in film and television. I went into my family industry and I worked in film and television for over 10 years behind the scenes. Then
Mm,
I went to NYU for my MSW, and I went right into social justice, social service, and I worked in foster care and HIV/AIDS, pregnancy prevention, and gang prevention. I did like some hardcore youth development
wow.
stuff, but I always had a foot in, like, it just never. I still was like working for a film festival, or and I
Mm,
took kids to like a studio, or but after a while, I just kind of hit a wall because that foster care, I ended up doing a lot of work in foster care. It's fully draining, and I was
oh,
empathic,
yeah.
taking on all of the people's.
Every case, every child, every situation, every family, you're burdened.
Yeah, and but all this was phenomenal education. And then
Mm.
I moved to, I had I hit 40 and I moved to Hawaii for a year, and that was crazy. It was like mom gone wild. And then I moved to Miami.
Oh wait. What do you mean, mom gonna walk? Can we dive in? Can we?
So my son was in high school, and he's like,
Okay.
I'm not moving from Bed-Stuy to Kauai. I
He's like, what do you think this is, mom? We're not going back to the wigwams. We're not doing any of the things you did
was
when you
like,
were a kid.
I take the subway, you know, and he was in high school, and his dad had always lived near. We were together until he was three
Right.
ish, a little later, but his dad and I was the primary parent. His dad was always nearby. We always lived in Bed-Stuy, and I was burnt. I was like, I'm done, and I hate the.
Right.
I'm done, and I hate the cold. And I had family in Hawaii, and so he was like, I'm not moving. I was like, great, you, Dad, have the privilege of getting to know your son on a deeper
Mm,
level before he's grown and
right.
done. And I am tired. I am
So
tired.
guess what? We gonna do this swap.
Yeah, I was a single mom, full time job. That's two jobs right there.
Right.
Plus, just super stressed living in New York City, like hoofing it every day with the high heels and the backpack, and
Yes. And the expense of it all. Like, I'm from New York, but
oh,
I'm like, who does? I've never been an adult living in New York. That shit is expensive and hard.
yeah,
Like, why?
spend all your money on childcare, and his dad was there. I'm not gonna say he wasn't, but I was like the primary parent every
Yeah,
morning.
no, being the primary parent has the burden. So let's just, we're good with secondaries. Y'all do what y'all need to do. But
Yeah,
primary, it's hard. Every day, dinner, lunch, breakfast, like all the things.
everything.
Everything.
Bed bath story. Then there's
Right.
after school activities, PT. Like it just was a lot.
Then there's homework.
Um,
Then there's conflict resolution with your little friends. And then there's like, no, it's all the hugs, all the kisses, all of that is a lot.
it's a lot, and it's an honor. I love being a mother.
Of
It is
course.
an amazing job. I'm happy to take, and I love being an auntie and a sister, and I the identity that I have in the family world and a daughter. It's an honor.
Right, of course. But we understand that as moms, it's difficult. And we're not
Mom,
going to continue to say that it's butterflies and roses all day because it's not.
no, and having a brown child in America in a city. My son is 6'6", so
Is it really?
I have to be like, come here, come here, come here.
I know.
Like I have to try and
But
like
I'm sure he is so fine.
beautiful. He is a beautiful boy. And he's so smart and he's so emotionally intelligent and
Mm,
creative. And anyway, I won't go on about my
I
Moses.
love it. All right, shout out to baby Hopi.
He is his own person, fully very
Yes.
different from me. Aries, Cancer, poor thing.
Oh.
Um, so just hitting that wall, I handed it over to his dad, which I got a lot of criticism for. Why would you do that? And I was like, I knew in my heart this was the best thing for him to be with
Yeah.
his father, to get that man time.
How old was he at the time?
Just about to turn 17.
Oh, honestly, could have been earlier than that because he needs that. He needs to learn how to be this man on an everyday basis, which is
And
perfect.
my ex had a new partner who I liked and trusted, kept a clean house.
Oh,
Like,
good.
yeah, a good woman who had a daughter that was a year older. And they created a family unit that did not experience with me as a single
That's
mother.
true. No, but how unselfish of you to even do that.
I handed him over to that. I went to Hawaii for a year, lost my damn mind because I was like, what?
Hookah la la lene. You're like, what?
I just was like, oh. And I partied a lot, but I also, so this was coming to the addiction was starting to rear its ugly head, but at the
Yeah.
same time I performed in the vagina monologues.
Mm.
Like bucket list stuff, right? And
Checkbox.
if I had never done that, I wouldn't have produced the vagina monologues here in Miami as a big fundraiser at the here in a big theater in Miami, and
Right.
started to lean into this vagina stuff, right?
Right.
Like these were the seeds that my higher power was planting in my life,
Right.
and got sober and met my husband, my second husband, and started to go into, I don't know if you know anything about Brazilians, but they are very sensual people, and sexuality and sensuality is a big part
Mm.
of the culture. And that's part of this journey that I've been
Right.
on
Right.
of claiming myself and being like, yeah, I like to have sex. And now that it hurts, I got to fix this. I
Right.
am not going out to pasture. No, no, no.
No.
And so that, and also Miami is as if Hawaii and New York had a baby. It is for me.
It's right, exactly. Eh, and then they had a baby and then sprinkled a little bit of like, I don't even know. Is something else
Fizzle,
about Miami. What
home.
is
They
it?
sprinkle fizz on. They sprinkle
Right. There you go. Miami. So New York and Hawaii have a baby, and then a little dash of sazon and
yeah,
parao.
or chimichurri. I don't know, like a dollop of chimichurri.
Exactly, sazon with a little side of
Art,
like cortadita, like you got a little Cuban coffee on the side. Bang.
and they splash some art on it, and they splash some, cryptocurrency and
Yeah,
capital, venture capital. Miami is like a Jetson city, and
it
it's
really is.
easy to get to New York. It's easy to get to the Caribbean. It's easy to get to South America, Central
Just
America.
overseas, period. It's such a port city. Just Miami has its own sazon, own flavor, own sabor, own everything. It's just, but I love it. It's definitely New York, and Miami had a baby,
And
and
it's
who's a rebel? Definitely a rebel.
yeah. That's my story. That's how I got here. That,
I
all the
love it,
things.
Hopi. I love it. I love it. And what I found so amazingly interesting as we kind of start wrapping is you started as this love baby, and your journey has led you to helping people love, right? The look, oh, I'm getting the hearts.
Will it do it for me?
I
Will
hope
it?
so.
I don't know. All
Oh
right.
no, I want it for you so bad. But you started as this love child, and now in a place where not only is your product in the shape of a heart, but you're literally helping people love themselves, love each other. Like, just what a full circle. And you had no idea, right? So this is where divinely you're supposed to be. And you didn't
Okay.
even know that.
Yeah. I think, if I don't know how many of y'all meditate, but meditation for me is
Me.
such a grounding, and I'm not perfect at it, but it's something. It really for me, like, it needs to be like brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
Or a shower. Well, I'll say a shower. Because you take a shower almost every day, but some days you don't, and you're kind of like, can I take a shower?
Yeah, you're like,
The meditation, it's this grounding thing, but it helps me listen. It helps
Mm,
me get tapped into that divine purpose, that divine guidance. I am not the end all be all. I'm a vessel,
right.
and if I want to really be of service to myself and others, I need to tune into the higher frequencies, and I need to be a part of the collective consciousness for good.
Yeah.
And so
I
that
love
is
that.
that's where I'm at these days.
Yes, that's where you're at. And with that, we're going to wrap. Okay, so real quick, we're going to go into another segment that we always do. So, first of all, thank you so much for that
You.
amazing story. Who knew? I mean, it was the wigwam for me. Like, if I could pull out three words that resonated, it's definitely the wigwam. It's definitely your journey through, overcoming addiction. And it's the celebrity child lifestyle. Like, hello. And so I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start picking out the three things that people need to watch out for. It's gonna be like a little scavenger hunt. Like, see if you
There
can
you
find
go.
the story
There
that
you
goes
go.
with these words. I love it. Um, and so we do this segment also called Couche Catastrophes. Now you're already in the vagina world,
Catastrophes. Okay.
catastrophes, and so we ask women to be brave enough to share. And you've been so brave today. Thank you.
Nature, unfortunately.
Exactly. So to share a story of either a friend or a friend of a friend or your own story about something that went wrong. Now, I almost feel like you started with what went wrong because now you built a whole company off of what went wrong.
Yeah, I built a whole company off of what went wrong.
Exactly. So, okay, so then typically if you've already kind of given us a little juice on a catastrophe, then I'm going to ask you a question
Sure.
around a couche or couches, and then you'll answer that. Okay, so here we go. So, would you say, so your mother is still with you, yes?
Yeah, both parents are alive.
Fantastic. So that's amazing. And are you close to your mom?
We talk. We talk
Okay,
every.
you guys talk.
Yes, I'm close to my
Okay,
mom.
very good. Yeah, I mean, some people are like, I don't know about that lady. And then some people are like, oh, yeah, I talk to her every day.
This is what I'll say, and this is part of recovery. I
Yes.
don't do holidays.
Okay. And that's fair
I don't do
because,
Thanksgiving, Christmas, and that's a newer thing for my
yeah,
mental health.
right.
But I do talk to my mother at least twice a week. um,
No, that's lovely. That's
Sometimes
lovely.
I have all her passwords.
Mm,
No, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mother.
for sure.
And so I honor her, and I also really appreciate what it's like to be a woman, and for the boomers, what it was like to be. My mother was a very alternative type of woman, and that wasn't easy
Hmm.
in those days. She couldn't
Not
help
at
but be
all.
herself. So when they were wearing bouffants in her high school, she had like a bob and a black turtleneck,
Right.
you know,
And then loved a black man.
and loved the black.
So
That alone, they had shit thrown at them on their window at their home, like that. That
that
was not
alone,
easy,
right.
even though that's been going on forever, ever.
Forever, but that alone just screams how brave and courageous she was to just follow her own heart. All right,
Yeah.
so I asked that because I have a question about what you can and can't talk to your mother about. So what is one thing? Obviously, your mother probably knows what you're doing now with having pussy, smoke weed, all the things. What is one? She's probably like, that's my daughter. She's doing great.
No, no pussy smoke weed. We put cannabis in
In
no.
the that's right. Okay,
No.
very good. See, now I messed it up. Okay, we're not smoking
No,
the
no
weed, people.
smoke out of the vagina. No, no,
No,
no.
no, no, no.
You
We
want
are
moist, moist vaginas.
we're ingesting it.
Juicy.
Yes.
I don't have a good answer for you because I can tell my mom anything.
Okay, so can you talk about orgasms with your mother?
Sure.
Has your mother given you advice around orgasms?
Um, no, I don't think
Okay.
so. But I
Okay.
would say my mother has given me, like, I was raised like, don't wear underwear when you're sleeping because your chi-chi needs to breathe.
Chi Chi, is that what you called it when you were
I
growing
mean,
up?
yeah, maybe. But
Ah!
the vagina needs to breathe, you know?
Right. I love Chi Chi though.
Yeah. I mean, in the vagina monologues, there's this great piece where they're like, they just, and it's interwoven throughout the whole play where they talk about all the different names for the,
Yes.
it's great.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know they did that because I know with my co-founder, we play this game whenever we used to do live events and it was called What Do You Call It? So of course we said, well, we call it the Couche, what do you call it? And we would go around the room handing the microphone and the names that from everything from Rose to Pocketbook to Mr. Whiskers. I was like, but why is it a man? Anyway, so it was enlightening. Mr. Whiskers. I'm like, why is it a man? It could be Miss Whiskers. No, I like Miss Whiskers better. And the worst one that we ever heard, and I say worst because you'll understand why I'm saying worst, is one girl took the mic and she says, "Well, my mother always used to always call it the shame," and I
Oh,
was devastated for this young lady. I
oh,
know my heart dropped, and usually I can keep a party going and do all the things and crack a joke, and it just was like the room got silent.
yeah.
And in my head and my heart, I was like, it took on not only one shame, but like double shame.
Shame, shame.
Shame, shame. No, no balloons right now. I'm getting balloons, not wrong AI. And and I held this woman, just I hugged her and I said, we're not gonna call it that anymore. You know what I mean? And I don't know what trauma and what shame, like you said, guilt and shame. I don't know what shame was associated with her history, her mother's history. You don't know. But I
Yeah,
said, we're going to call it the couche. And I said, and we're going to help you sort of celebrate yourself and everything around the couche.
yeah.
And she wasn't emotional about it, but I'm sure she has buried something so deep within her and was just honest. And she was like, that's the name.
Emotional stuff. It probably came from grandma and great grandma, and you know, um, these stories. And
I
the
know.
thing is, I think secrets kill us. Now,
Oh,
and just like kind of closing on what you tell your mom and what you don't tell your mom.
yeah.
This phase, what I share with my mom is what I think will make her feel good about herself, what will make her laugh. I need to be careful. I need to watch myself of what stresses her out because
Yeah.
memory is not as elastin and it's things stress her out. Um, and so it's almost like and also just watching these ages and stages and
Hmm.
how can we not have the continuum of intergenerational trauma? How can we bring in more love? How can we shift the paradigm? you know
Right.
you know
Yeah, and I think that's appropriate because we have parents that still have more years behind them than they do in front of them, the last thing you want to do is add to any of the traumas that they didn't resolve. Because most of our parents don't resolve them. For us who are starting to do the work, you find that there's a generation before us that would never even acknowledge that there was work to be done.
right.
And so the last thing you ever want to do is add a little bit more trauma to that plate. And so I do the same thing. My mom and I love her to pieces. She texts me, or I tell her that I love her little, memes that she sends me. I don't read them, but I know she's alive you know what I'm saying? Like that's my way of making sure she's okay. And I put my little heart, and some days I forget the heart, and she's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I forgot the heart." But I'm just trying to create joy in this phase of her life now because that's what she deserves. And so I appreciate you saying that, and I'm sure your mom does too. So,
And
well, I'm
also
good. Go
I
ahead.
just, so for me also, honestly, the woman, so my mom played, obviously gave me birth and raised me until I was 10. And then I was with my dad. But really the woman who I would say has been the most intentionally and present as a mother for me is my stepmom, Nora, who,
Mm,
who really, was like present as a mother for me.
yeah.
And that's also being in a blended family and a blended
Family.
experience, you know. So I'm a multi hyphenate in terms of my career. I come from a blended family. I am a blended woman, and I'm here to say it all works out.
Ah, what a beautiful note to end on. It all works out. I would add, because, I'm a sailor, it all works the fuck out. So we all need to
It
just
all
chill
works
the
the
fuck
fuck
out.
out. Yeah, yeah. Don't take it stop taking things personally. You know, stay in your hula hoop and everything, and stay connected to your higher power. Stay connected to your people. Tell them you love them.
Yeah.
Those are
When you
the
have them before they go, and it'll all work out. Oh my gosh. So, Hopi, we're going to ask that you stay in the studio, hang out for a second. We're going to tell the audience goodbye. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Kushae Chronicles. This episode was with the illustrious, the amazing Hopi Noel Morton, from Wigwam to recovery from addiction and a celebrity child lifestyle. Her story was amazing, and I'm so honored and so humbled that you were here today to share it with me and the world. So, Hopi, thank you so much again. Let's say goodbye to the audience.
Thank you, Kimba. Thank you so much. And this is great. Loved having this conversation with you.
Thank you, my darling. So hang in there in the studio. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care.